It was class to see Bryan Mbeumo in a United shirt on his debut, and he had a really decent 45-minute performance in Manchester United's 2-2 draw with Everton, but there was a real clarity on what the biggest talking point was from that game, and it wasn't Mbeumo. Let me run through what we learned watching United's 2-2 draw with Everton, including discussions about Amorim's need for a new midfielder, Mbeumo's debut, and a reminder of where work is still needed to be done this summer for United. So the pre-season in America has finished. We've still got the game against Fiorentina at Old Trafford on Saturday. Overall, I think it was a really positive pre-season. First two games, the first two wins. But in that game against Everton, did we learn much? Or did we just watch kind of what we saw last season? I think that's probably my main takeaway from that. I'm going to run through the top 5 things I want to speak about. You can let me know in the comments what's your biggest takeaway from the game. But firstly, let's talk about Mbeumo. Let's focus on the positive of him making his United debut. And I hope this is the first of many photos of these three holding a trophy in a United shirt. But Mbeumo started, played 45 minutes, and straight away you kind of saw what he was bringing to the team. Ruben Amorim spoke about him after the game, saying, look, you think he played well, needs to improve physically, the first touch, the way he turns and connects with the other guys. And if you looked at that goal that we saw, the first goal, which was a penalty, the move from back to front, and Mbeumo, lovely first-time ball, really aware of Ahmad's run, nicely weighted pass. I liked what I saw. It's just a shame, I suppose, that we didn't get him in a couple of weeks earlier, because then he would have been fitter and closer to being ready to play 90 minutes. Not even sure he's going to be fit to play the full 90 against Arsenal. But I liked what I saw from him, and that was definitely the biggest positive from the game. And unfortunately, let's go to the biggest negative from the game, and that's about our midfield. And this is where I don't think we learned anything new about Manchester United's midfield and the problems that we have. We need a midfield signing. It's been the case all summer. I still think it's a bigger priority even than Sesko. There's Amorim speaking after the game, talking about, look, even with different midfielders in our team, we'd struggle with this kind of game to build up from the back. Ugarte definitely is getting most criticism, and I think that's understandable. But he's also never, ever going to be that midfielder, and never was going to be that midfielder. If you play like we did against Bournemouth and West Ham, you play with an aggressive high press, Ugarte is going to be good for you. If you play with a deeper block, a low block, a back five, and you need to progress the ball through patterns and passing out from the back under pressure, he's not your guy. And Kobe, we're going to do a video that's coming out later this week. Kobe is a number 8. He may have strengths as a number 6, but ultimately his weaknesses out of possession are why he can't play number 6, and his weaknesses in possession are why he can't play number 6. And Casemiro's too old. We do not have a number 6 in this squad. We do not, and that's why, look, we're not signing Baleba this summer. We do not have the money. You know that Brighton are going to be charging more than 100 mil for anybody who tries to sign him in the exact same way that they sold Caicedo. And everybody laughed and said about the price. They got a British record price for him, and he's growing into his role at Chelsea. That sort of physical, dominant midfielder, the one who eats up the ground, also good under pressure. They're like diamonds. They are probably the most important players, I would say, in Premier League teams now. You saw City without Rodri, and you see United without one. We need one for Amorim. Does that mean that we don't? Well, clearly United are prioritising goals. Purely prioritising goals this summer. And Mbeumo, Cunha, and even Sesko on top of that. How do we get a midfield signing around that? I don't know. Is there a gem that United can find that's going to be a lower price? I don't know. But it's certainly not going to be that lad. It does feel like United are just looking at goals this summer. But Amorim needs a midfielder. He really does. Or that problem that we saw there against Everton is just going to crop up so many more times. And Bruno didn't exactly hold back when he spoke about it after the game either. Bruno, I think the fact that he's doing this as captain is interesting, really. This was him speaking after the game, talking about, look, the laziness. And Ruben Amorim spoke about that as well. How quickly you are to the second ball, how quickly you're moving. If you slow it down, you give the opposition time to close the spaces, and that's what Everton did when Ugarte was closed down. But Bruno saying this after the game, I thought was very interesting. Talking about it being crystal clear that we needed more competition for the players that were here. Hopefully we can get 1 or 2 more players in to help with that. I just think it's interesting that our captain is saying that after the game. Clearly, he's right. He is right. But it's exerting a little bit of pressure, and maybe that pressure is a good thing. Omar Borelli was speaking before the game saying, look, recruitment team's working around the clock to ensure that we continue to find opportunities to strengthen our squad. And we have to get... I think this summer, honestly, if you gave me the priority list order, I'm going for midfielder, goalkeeper, striker. That's what I would choose. United are doing striker, and we don't know about the midfielder situation. We've heard that we wanted one all summer, but we've not moved for anyone yet. And the goalkeeper situation, we're looking at Sen Lamons, but we need to move Altay Bayindir on, and there's not been any bids for him. But Bruno putting that pressure on, I think, is indicative of how he and clearly how some of the squad is still feeling, and Ruben Amorim. Now, in terms of a player who played well yesterday, I think Mason Mount deserves a little bit of a conversation here, right? I hope that Mount's going to be the surprise of the season. I hope that Mount's going to and it's all simply around, can you stay fit? Mason Mount firmly in the Luke Shaw category of talented footballers who play for United whose fitness has stopped them fulfilling their potential in a United shirt, right? Amorim speaking about him after the game. Every manager that Mount's ever played under have all loved Mason Mount. He trains, gives 100% every single time, every training, every game. And it was a class goal. It's kind of a carbon copy of the goal that he scored against Athletic Club. United have got options in terms of those number 10 positions, haven't we? We really, really do. You've got Cunha and Mbeumo. You've got Mount. You've got Bruno. There's depth. There's strength. There's quality there. I just hope that this is the season. But it's not a hope. It either is or he's sold. So it's kind of like, call it last chance saloon if you want to call it that. But it's just this season, Mason Mount has to deliver on that, because if he doesn't, he's going to be sold next summer. If he does, it'll be a surprise, and a pleasant surprise. Last point I want to say here, right? I want to speak about goalkeepers, because Tom Heaton is the best goalkeeper at our club right now, isn't he? He would be my choice to start in goal against Arsenal. Bayindir fills me, unfortunately, with the same sort of watching through a couple of fingers feeling that Onana gives me. That free kick from James Garner, Bayindir just like palmed it straight back out. Now, he's really that hard to palm left. Tom Heaton should be starting against Arsenal. Easy. Onana, even if he's fit, the first game he plays should not be against Arsenal. It should be Tom Heaton in goal. But definitely the main takeaway from this, get this man the midfielder that he needs. I don't know what level we can go at. Maybe we're going to have to try and find a gem. I imagine somewhere 20 to 30 mil. Maybe it relies on Garnacho and Anthony not holding the club to ransom for the clubs that they want to sign who can't afford them. We need a midfield signing, man. It's not a case of like, oh, it'd be nice to have one. The problems we saw against Everton were the exact same problems last year, and we'll have those problems all season long unless we sign a midfielder. It's a necessity, if you ask me. Let me know what you think in the comments, as you always do.